Welcome to Fostering Bridges, a podcast dedicated to uplifting, supporting, and empowering foster, adoptive, and kinship parents.
Today, I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing State Representative from District 8 in Texas, House District 8, Cody Harris. Rep, good morning. How are you this afternoon? How are you this
Yeah,
afternoon?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Looking
Uh,
forward to it.
Glad to have you, and I'm excited to talk to you about something other than politics.
Yeah.
But before we do, I have to tell you how much I've enjoyed being in your district
Thank you.
because people who know my background, when they find out that I served in the Oregon legislature, the first thing they always do is say, "Well, you're going to run for office here?" And I have the honor to tell them, or the pleasure, and I say, "Look, when I got here, I looked up my state rep and Rep Harris, and we probably agree on 98% of things. He loves God, he loves people. I mean, that's 18% more frequent than my wife and I agree. Why would I ever put myself through that again?" So it's just so encouraging to have someone I believe in office. So that's the extent of our politics for the day, though. We are here to talk about adoption.
Yeah, man, that means the world, though. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Well, so you and your bride, you're an adoptive family, right?
That's right.
Well, and do you have other kids? How many kids do you
We
have?
do. We've got three biological boys who we had before we started walking down the path of adoption. Yeah.
So I'm curious, and how long ago did that process start for adoption?
So that was goodness. I want to say 2015 is when we started going through our licensure process for foster care. We wanted to be foster parents. My wife was doing a Bible study in Tyler every week, and a lot of those families were getting involved in being foster parents. And we had always had a heart for it, even when we first got married, thought, one day we would want to pursue that. And so we thought we would dip our toe into the water by doing foster care. And so the almost the day that we got licensed, we got a call that there's this 14-month-old baby girl whose parental rights had already been terminated. She would be your first placement, but if you say yes, you'd basically be saying yes to adopting her,
Hmm.
sight unseen. So uh, we took about an hour to think and pray about it and thought, man, how can we say no? How can you
Right.
say no to that?
And so as you thought about fostering, were you considering foster to adopt from the get-go, or it was just like, no, we'll just go foster?
Just fostering. That we were just gonna ease into it and see
Yeah,
where the Lord led us from there.
that's cool. So number
Yeah.
one, and got to stay.
Yeah, that's right.
That's I got to tell you, that's unusual, but that's also our story in the sense of, I mean, she was a little over two, and we told the state at the time, this is in Oregon, like, it'd be nice. We're open to adoption. It'd be nice if someone's parental rights were, about terminated, so we could kind of jump further along. And no joke, she laughed at us. And the final home study visit, they're like, you'd never guess what came across our
Yeah,
desk this week. And sure enough, we got to adopt our very first placement, which is just been amazing. I mean,
yeah,
she's
that's
19
amazing.
now. So,
Wow.
so from the get-go, from the time you guys started a fostering, because I'm assuming they placed this child, a boy or girl, by the way?
Girl.
Girl. Okay, so by the time they placed her with you, they're thinking adoption, but you're starting out at foster here in Texas. How'd that process go for you?
Yeah, it was, I mean, very emotionally challenging thinking that there may be a chance that it's not all final and that we don't get to keep her. Especially after we got attached to her. But it was almost a year to the day from when she was placed with us to when we had the court hearing to finalize adoption. And uh, the for Chloe's for her sake, we had hoped that the biological mother might reach out or do something, but never did. Um, and so yeah, it was a tough slash frustrating process to go through on just the licensure side, going through the classes. We were parents of three older kids already, and their ages right now. So all four of them, let's do all four of them because I can't do the math to go back to 2016. But right now, the three boys are 18, 16, 14, and Chloe is 11. So
Okay.
they fit right in line with each other.
Made for a
Uh,
busy young house.
yeah, that's right. Exactly. Um, and so, the courses that you have to take and different training that you have to go through, that's fine. That's not bad. The home study, and when you start dealing with the state agencies, um, that's where, and I was not elected in office yet. So I was just Joe Blow, member of the community,
Yeah.
going through this, but took a lot of notes and thought of a lot of ways that things could be improved. Things could be made better for sure. But um, yeah, it really opened our eyes to the need for it. Man, how many foster kids there are out there without placement, without a home to go to. Um, and that, I hate to say this, but what a failure of the church it has become.
Right.
Uh, because they're the ones that should be filling this role. We are the ones who should be filling this role, and we're called to it in Scripture. Um, and instead, we just kind of sit back and think, the government will take care of it.
Yeah.
That's not the way it should be.
And I've argued that now both in Oregon and in Texas, which both of those states do it extremely different. But I've argued in both, hey, if the church did its job, loving on families, taking in children, and praying for reconciliation and so forth, and stepping up when reconciliation is not possible. If the church did its job, the state wouldn't have to do as much as it is doing. So if you want the state to do less, which with my values, I want the state to do as little as possible,
Exactly.
then the church needs to step up and do more.
Hmm.
But I've been seeing that in Texas. I've had the last couple of years, had the opportunity to, with the Fostering Collective and with some stuff we've done in Cherokee County. I'm watching the church grow because I've been surprised how unaware the good citizens of East Texas are. It just blows me away. I'm like, how can we send children out of county to another location if we have all these good families? And I talk to families here and they're like, they need a home? I didn't know they needed a home.
Yeah,
And so that's part of why we do this podcast, just trying to make people aware,
that's great.
But anyway, so back to your story though. I'm curious, how did the other kiddos take it?
I mean, they were all on board. All three boys have very tender hearts, and especially the youngest one, Turner. When Chloe came, he adopted her in, I mean, from the get-go. They were best friends, just as close as they could be. Um, and it was amazing to watch them grow for one thing, and to see that not everybody has this protected insular family unit like this. They were able to see what else happens in the world. And I hope that they remember that as they get older. But uh, definitely, now that we're years past it, there's not a division in anyone's mind, or the way we feel about Chloe. Like, it's not the three boys and Chloe; it's
Right.
all six of us, right? There's not a differentiation between bios and adopted kid or anything like that. It's just uh, it's it's been it's been an incredible journey, but our family would not have been whole without her.
Yeah. One of these days I'm going to do an episode that's 10 things not to say to a foster or adoptive parent. And one of them is, and they always mean it with good intent because people are just curious. I don't fault that. But so which ones are yours?
Yeah,
You know, and I'm like, all of them. They're
yeah,
all mine.
yeah,
But then I'll look at them like, do you mean which ones did I get to create?
exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, they become all one. So did you guys do any other fostering after that?
We didn't do any long-term fostering. We did what's the like what
Respite?
respite. We did respite care several times for some of the other families that we knew here that needed a break or needed to go on vacation, something like that. So yeah, respite care for a while, and then I decided to run for office, and we had no time for anything else. And uh, but we've
Yep.
watched and walked alongside other families who have stepped up to do it as well. And my wife and I are engaged at our church with a initiative to recruit and walk alongside other foster families.
Excellent, excellent. And uh, again, I can relate in the sense of that traveling because you travel from Palestine to Austin. How
Yeah.
far is that?
That's about 3 hours and 15 minutes one way.
You know what? My trip from Southern Oregon to Salem, Oregon was 3 hours and 15 minutes if I didn't speed and I didn't stop.
Yeah.
So I hear you. And you know, we had a few years back where I thought I was going to sit around in office for a long time,
Mhm.
and God brought a child back to us with siblings, and in 24 hours we went from 5 children to 9 children. And when
Oh
I
my
found out
goodness.
3 of them were staying permanently, it was like, I guess it's time for me to be done with this job.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
because it's tough. You add in visitations and being there with your spouse to it's anyway. So I relate. I feel you. I appreciate your work. Uh, Tell me, apart from, I mean, obviously the joy of the adoption, but what are some of the highs and lows? You have a comparison because you have older
Right.
children, but there's a uniqueness when a child's adoptive. What have some highs and lows you guys have gone through?
Yeah. So when she first came to us, she was nonverbal. Had no muscle development in her mouth or anything like that. Couldn't walk, even though she was 14 months old. Um, had just kind of been malnourished and just on baby food, even though she was plenty old enough to have further development. And so very quickly she started developing verbal skills. And now I mean, she is just the biggest chatterbox in the world now. Just talks nonstop and is very emotional with how she talks. So there was a time a couple of years ago where um, we were going through some transition at school, or she was struggling at school, and we don't treat her any differently than we do our biological kids. We're strict, we've got rules, and so she starts pushing the boundaries and testing back. And one day she's just like, you know what? I don't think I belong in this family anymore. And
Mm,
starts testing those, like, because we've been very open with her from the very beginning that
right.
God chose you to be part of our family, and her adoptive story, um, from an age appropriate level. But so I think those were some of the most surprising and kind of hard to deal with moments when she realized um, that it took her time to realize that even though she wasn't born from us or by my wife and I, she still just as much belongs in our family.
Right.
Even when she doesn't like it, you don't get to choose your way out of this
Yep.
either. Um, but other than that, man, just the regular ups and downs of parenting and having kids. Uh, some differences like neurological development because she was in foster care for so long from birth just about to when we got her. Um, some neural pathways that didn't get connected that we had no idea about, never heard of, but struggling in school a little bit. And so the more we explored it, there's these it's simple therapy to go through to reestablish these neural
Mm,
pathways, and it's a result of the trauma that she experienced as a baby.
right.
Uh, and so you just think, man, you hear about all of the discipline issues and all of that in schools, and how more and more rare the nuclear family is becoming, and that kind of biblical model for a family is becoming. So how much of that trauma is what we are seeing on a societal level today, whether foster kids or not. I think just seeing the hurt that's out there in the world, and what that turns into and how that comes out when they begin to grow up is pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. Have your throughout this time, have your children pushed you toward, hey, let's do this again? Or have they said, our house is full enough? Like,
No,
what's
that's a
their
good
ongoing
question.
take?
Yeah, everybody, I think there's just this sense that our family is complete,
Mm,
at least for the time being. Not saying that sometime down the road we wouldn't re-explore that, but uh, from the way the boys have handled it to my wife and I think um, Chloe was just a perfect natural fit to our family.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was there ever any or reestablishment of communication with biological parents?
No, there
Okay.
hasn't been.
All right. Well, that makes some components easier.
That's right. Yeah,
Uh,
I would imagine so.
but it does at the same time it leaves a lot of open questions for them.
Hmm.
Um, and I would say, by the way, to anyone listening, as I say this to you, um, we with one of our kiddos completely closed adoption, and we ended up as time went on actually reaching out and exploring that relationship just a little bit, and it was amazing how once the initial questions were resolved, how much less interest there was.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and every situation's unique. So I'm not promising
Sure.
anyone that that would happen for them, but yeah, it was pretty amazing. Like, we saw some things of like, hey, that's where the sense of humor comes and it comes
Yeah.
from, and all these things. But then it was just kind of like the curiosity was gone. Some of the, this was, you know, not quite preteen, but some of the comments that would be made about, well, my other mom
Uh-huh.
type comments that basically disappeared for the last
Really?
decade. Yeah, it was interesting. So I would just tell people in general, don't fear that if it all of a sudden pops up someday. Um, God knows his timing. And so
That's right.
just pray and be open about it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm curious, you mentioned that you have a ministry or there's a ministry at your church that is kind of exploring this. What ministry is it? Is that just
I
in-house
don't
or
know
out?
that it has a particular name. It's just there's a recognition that there are a lot of families who either had been a part of foster care or adoption, or were interested in that. And so we just kind of organized and started meeting and having informative events at the church, things like that. And I think it's kind of on a monthly basis now where we'll have a time to get together and have dinner as families and sit and visit.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any words of wisdom or thoughts you would throw out to, adoptive parents? So you're going on a decade now, and it's, I would say sometimes once there's a finalized adoption and all the excitement happens, that it doesn't take too long that all of a sudden your family is just a normal family now,
That's right. Yeah.
and people view you as a normal family, but it still has some unique challenges that you navigate. Any thoughts on what you would tell, families out there that are 5 years in or 6 years in and don't have the support system that they once did as foster parents?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're if you're not part of a church, number one, get involved with a church. Because even if there's not an existing system or structure there now for you to find that support, I think very quickly you will be able to find that if you have a church that's focused on discipleship and growing believers. That's definitely the first place to go look. Um, but from kind of a different standpoint, Chloe is she's not white like us. She's kind of mixed race, and so that was very different coming in to our family. We were a little bit nervous about how the rest of the family might react to that. What would be the perception? Not that we cared, just how's that gonna change the family dynamic from a greater perspective? And it did nothing but correct or heal any prejudices that may have been there earlier with other family members, and they love her just as much as we do now. And so just the picture of um, how our relationship is with Jesus and the Father and our adoption through him
Hmm.
has been made so much more evident through our process with adopting Chloe. And so that's probably been one of the biggest takeaways of going through that process. And so when you're in the parenting and it's hard and it's stressful, Just try to keep your focus on that, and that, yeah, you may be frustrated with your kid, um, they may be rebellious, but that's also how we act and interact with Jesus and the Father too. And so, hopefully that gives us more grace as we parent.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. And what a beautiful picture. I'm thinking about your comment a minute ago with about Chloe and is this really where I belong?
Yeah,
And not to suddenly swing this into a little mini sermon, but how often we wonder that, like, we offend God and we know we've messed up, and it's like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Like, how can he love me? But it's like, hey,
absolutely.
I've adopted you. You are my child, and there's no getting out of it now. You're with me.
Exactly. Yep.
You can break all the rules. I wish you wouldn't,
Yeah,
but you're still mine. And
exactly.
love that. I have to tell you, the being in East Texas, as far as the multiracial family, has been a much more pleasant experience for me than it was in Oregon. Because in Oregon,
Really?
I walk into you know, Oregon, if you get into the bigger cities, you have more diversity as far as
Right.
race. But outside of the big cities, and I was in rural Southern Oregon, just not that much. So I walk into a place and it's like I lose the count. Three of my children are white, three of them are half Hispanic, and then I have an Asian child and a black child. And so we walk in and people are, what's going on here? And we walk around in East Texas and we look like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty
Uh,
surprising.
yeah, it's been great. I love it. Well, I know you have a busy day. Appreciate you taking some time. Any last thoughts you want to throw out?
Oh man, thank you for what you're doing, spreading the message for adoption and fostering the need for believers to get involved in that. I appreciate that very much, and happy to be helpful any way that I can. And praying for everybody out there who's thinking about getting into it.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for being on today.
Thanks, Duane.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fostering Bridges. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights, encouragement, and a reminder that you're not alone on this journey. If you found value in this episode, please share it with someone who might need it. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. Remember, building bridges in our families, our communities, and ourselves is a continuous journey. Until next time, take care and keep fostering those bridges.